test, you do not have to know an artery from a vein on a nerve yet. You'll have to know that on your very last lab test. But you were looking at an artery slide, and you were looking along this basement membrane to see flat black nuclei in here. They don't show up very good here, but if you were at the microscope, which they're over there on display, it shows up nicely. So we have a couple of views of arteries here. There's one that's a little better. You see the purple nucleus peeling up. It's very flat. It's lumping up right here, flat. So if you had one row of flat cells right there, what is the name of that tissue? Simple, squamous, epithelium. Very nice. But there's nothing like looking through your own microscope to see this, which that's how you'll be tested. There's another one just to show you a vein and an artery and a nerve. And you would be looking right along here to see the very flat cells. And again, this is a poor representation. I did not assign you this slide, but if you're thinking about real thin, flat cells, simple squamous epithelium, you tend to have that in a very protected area of your body, and you also tend to have it where you're wanting to get something to go through it real quick because it is a really thin cell. So these are your alveolar air sacs of your lungs, and so you got to have oxygen and CO2 go across. So they are made of simple squamous. The reason we didn't assign it is when you lay it on a slide, they flop over like you're looking down at a polar view of them, so they start looking like a fried egg with a yolk inside. Every now and then, one will stay on its side like you wish they all would, and it looks very squamous and realistic. But this can be more confusing to a student when you don't realize everything tends to just flop over when you take something like air sacs out of the lung. So you won't be tested on this, but it is another simple squamous tissue because it's for transport. This is a nice slide. This tissue you were assigned. I want you to look down here. There's something going up and down and go up and down. What is that? Oh, I'm not asking what tissue is yet. What is this feature at the deepest point? Basement membrane. Good for you. So I told you it's not a magic marker line. It is just a distinct point at which you can tell that tissue ended and something with different stain qualities begins. Now, is this simple or stratified? Stratified. You go up to the unattached border to name the shape. So as you go up here, what's their shape? Squamous. Squamous. They're running left to right. Okay, so this is stratified squamous epithelium. This happens to be an esophagus slide, but that is stratified squamous. We looked at a vagina slide when all you're looking at is just the tissue and nothing else beside just the lining tissue. You cannot tell it apart, which is why we would not ask you on a lab test what organ you're staring at, because we haven't taught you the other parts of the organ yet. We'll just ask you name the tissue type thing, or things in the tissue like basement membrane. That is very thin skin, and I didn't give you thin skin. I'll show you the skin I gave you in a minute. But again, there's your basement membrane, so you can always pick it out. And is this simple or stratified? Stratified. What's this stringy stuff on top? Keratinized, stratified, and the cells at the very top are flat, squamous epithelium. But when it's thin skin, it doesn't look real pretty and easy to identify the shape. This is beautiful. You were not assigned this. You were assigned this tissue, but not this slide. This happens to be your thyroid gland. And a thyroid gland is made of little sac-like follicles. And so every little sac has some cells that make up its wall. And then you get to the next follicle sac, and it has cells that make up its wall. So if I said, name the kind of tissue that makes up the wall of the follicle sac, what is it? Simple cuboidal epithelium. Nice round nuclei, little box-like cells, and you never even saw that one before, and now you understand it. Simple cuboidal epithelium. Now what is happening right here is they didn't cut deeply enough to get into that follicle, and so you're looking down on it from a polar view. Would you notice it does not matter what shaped cell you are? It looks like a fried egg when you look at it from overhead. That's why we don't identify shapes from overhead. This one you were assigned. Maybe this wasn't the color of yours, but you were assigned kidney tubules. So name this tissue that makes up the wall of the tubule. Simple cuboidal epithelium. Yours was dark pink versus light pink instead of pink versus gray or whatever color that is. Simple cuboidal epithelium. Any questions?